Every year, I make a most anticipated games of the year list, but this year I'm taking it to the max, with the ultimate list of upcoming games of 2026. Here is a massive amount of games that I am looking forward to the most in 2026, covering a ton of different genres from roguelikes to puzzle games, to simulators, to strategy games, platformers, tower defense games, and even more. These are in no particular order. It's legitimately over 30 games in this list, and that's mainly because I'm a psychopath, so we got a lot to cover. Let's hop in. Dice A Million is a dice-throwing roguelike deck builder, where you're building a bag of dice, with the hopes of rolling 1,000,000 points. There's all kinds of unhinged dice with unique effects, there's unique jokers, rings that you can collect to change and impact your run, there's tons of secret paths and unlocks and endings to unpack in the game. It's just the ultimate big numbered dice rolling chaos game. Demon Bluff is a deduction roguelike that is effectively games like Blood on the Clock Tower or Werewolf, but in a single-player roguelike shell. And as someone that loves deduction games but simultaneously has no friends, this is a brilliant idea and one that I cannot wait to see the full release of. There's so many roles and unique little puzzles just in the demo that I'm sure the full release is going to mentally collapse me and create some incredible moments. Rune Dice is a tactical deck builder where you're going to be launching dice across enchanted battlefields with fun, realistic physics. If you match any dice, they fuse together into a more powerful die, creating the opportunity for these devastating chaining combos to defeat your enemies. There's 8 different unique characters, tons of unique bosses, and a bunch of different dice and relics to unlock and mess around with as you look to explore the world that Rune Dice is creating. We've seen some other dice games, but this one has 100% more stickers and 100% more balls. Balls, Dice, and Stickers is an absolutely unhinged and chaotic little roguelike where you are building a board of synergies to throw balls at, and you just kind of watch the magic happen. It's close to impossible to understand anything that is going on in this game, and I'm not positive the synergies actually even mean anything, but it is the epitome of injecting dopamine straight into your bloodstream the entire time you play it. It's a wacky one. I am a huge fan of experimental games that do things that I've never seen before and probably do things that even the developers don't expect. And the last game that I played like this was Mosalina, which was a contender for Game of the Year a few years ago for me. Frogspin gives me very similar vibes. It's a 2-button precision platformer that's kind of reminiscent of Jump King. You can either jump left or you can jump right at varying strengths. There's a lot of randomized elements, modifiers to each level, and different mechanics to explore. It's funky, it's fresh, it's new and exciting. All things that I look for in a new game. Goblin Vyke the Thief Tycoon is a stealth shopkeeping Metroidvania, where you're sneaking into dungeons to steal things from other creatures at night, and during the day, you're haggling with customers to sell your stolen goods at high prices. You can recruit employees, expand your business, and become a business tycoon of stolen goods. There's been games like this in the past, but I think that the stealth component and the Metroidvania idea kind of make this one a must-play this year. Roach Post is what I will call a Balatro-like game. It's a this multiplied by this gives me a bunch of points game, but what makes Roach Post different is it's mashing together a ton of other great genres into it. It's got great auto-battler ideas, it's got brilliant puzzle tile placement ideas, and some fun roguelike mechanics all wrapped up in a really fun and interesting theme. Who doesn't love cockroaches running a post office? Tower Lab is the most exciting tower defense game of the year for me. It's a tower defense game where enemies can't be killed, but instead they can be knocked off of the platform using physics. Your tower defense towers are actually just contraptions that you combine and merge together to create devastating combos that push, pull, and launch enemies. It looks experimental, it looks creative, and it looks really wacky. I love it. Planetenverteidigungskanonenkommandant is a new game from the Domekeeper developers where you are operating a planetary defense cannon to fend off an interplanetary invasion. It looks absolutely breathtaking with a beautiful story, beautiful graphics, deep complex gameplay, and a title that I cannot pronounce for the life of me. Get my hands on it immediately. Musgro Farm was actually on my most anticipated list last year and just didn't quite release yet, and it's mainly because the dev has added a whole slew of things to this game since I last played the demo. This is a logistics automation farming simulator that kind of plays like a mix between farming sim, Shapes.io, and an idle game, all at the same time. It's pretty cozy, it's pretty complex, and it's the exact kind of game that I love to obsess over for a couple weeks. Nonolith is an absolutely fascinating new entry to the Metroidvania genre, a Metroidvania filled with these complex knowledge puzzle gates. You're going to be copy and pasting the world around you in this puzzle platformer, discovering the secrets of the ancient enigmatic structure. It gives me big Animal Well vibes, which was one of my favorite games a few years ago, so I am itching for this one. Deepspace Emporium is what I'm coining as a Papers-like, a Papers, Please style game. The game takes place in a sprawling space station where you're a former scavenger turned merchant, trading goods of varying legality. You're going to be navigating different factions' demands and dodging authority as you maintain your inventory, investigate contraband, and run your shop to meet the raising rent prices in the world. It's immersive and gritty, and it looks like a gem. Sandustry could be the boringest theme for a game of all time. It is a game about collecting sand. However, when you start to use automations and complex production chains to mine the sand, automate it into resources you need to uncover an ancient civilization's powerful secrets, it starts to get a little more exciting. It's pretty clearly inspired by Terraria, but it has a unique automation and factory building twist that is so innovative and unlike anything I've ever seen before that I'm pretty excited for this one. Over the Hill is one of those just feel-good games. You're exploring the world in the golden age of off-roading with your friends, driving through challenging trails and beautiful scenery as you ramble your way through various biomes from valleys to mountains. There's little secrets, unlockable upgrades and vehicles, a slew of customization and cosmetics. It's just the perfect chill experience for that game night with your friends. The Incident at Galley House is the next game from the creators of The Root Trees Are Dead, a remaster of the acclaimed text-based browser game Type Help. I've been very vocal about The Root Trees Are Dead being one of my favorite puzzle games of all time, so another deduction-style mystery game where you're uncovering the truth behind a grisly mystery? It's right up my alley. Factory Town is one of my favorite city-building automation games of all time, and there's now a sequel coming. What's brilliant about these games are they're very stress-free. There's no penalties for anything or time pressure. They encourage you to experiment and make funky things, which is perfect for an automation game. This time around in Factory Town 2, there's 100% more volcanoes and all kinds of wacky ways to maneuver around your resources like catapults and zip lines. The graphics are improved, the mechanics are improved. It's everything I want from a sequel. EMUUROM is a game all about knowledge. You'll be discovering the rules of the game, gathering information, and using that knowledge to find and open new paths forward. There's tons of secrets hiding in plain sight, and as you scan creatures within the game, you'll be revealing those secrets and opening up new hidden pathways to progress through the game. Yes, it's a Metroidvania. Yes, I'm stupid excited for this one. Yes, I friggin' love minimalistic pixel art games. And yes, you can inject EMUUROM straight into my veins. Tenjutsu is the next big top-down action roguelike you've been waiting for. From the designer of Dead Cells, this gritty roguelike has you dismantling the unique crime syndicates of Secret Garden City with an incredibly fast-paced and fluid melee combat system. As you take down each crime syndicate, you'll be rebuilding the city with shops and restaurants that help you unlock new weapons, combat moves, and areas to explore. It looks absolutely gorgeous, the combat looks so smooth, and I really think it's going to be a gem. Locator is a puzzle game inspired by GeoGuessr. Yes, the game about finding your location on the great big orb that we live on. In Locator, you're going to be pinpointing exact locations in photos in order to track down a missing archaeologist. But there's so much more. There's journal entries that expand the lore of the game, cryptic symbols that lead you to different deduction strategies. I love GeoGuessr, I love cryptic, weird puzzle games. This one is a match made in heaven. Enter the Chronosphere, believe it or not, was on my most anticipated games list 3 years ago. And this year is finally the year. This is what I can best describe as a super hot like. The screen only moves when you move, but it's a bullet hell top-down roguelike. So it's a bit of a turn-based strategy game and a bit of a bullet hell action game. It's been expanded a ton since the early demo that I played long ago that kind of made me fall in love with the idea of this game, and the new art style looks amazing, so I'm pretty excited to explore the world this game has to offer. Shroom and Gloom is a first-person deck-building roguelike that I've also been waiting a very long time for. In Shroom and Gloom, you're managing two different decks at the same time, one for battles and one for outside of battles, that you use to get stronger, heal, and find new abilities. It's atmospheric, it's a bit goofy, and it's the kind of game that doesn't just stop you from breaking the game, but actively encourages you to. You're gonna need to find those broken synergies to win, and I think that's a pretty fun concept in a deck builder. Drillkeeper is part roguelike deck builder and part tower defense. You're going to be traveling the galaxy to strip mines of their riches while defending against hordes and hordes of relentless aliens. You're going to be building synergies in your deck to optimize your digging strategy and acquire resources you can use to upgrade the many heroes, factions, and drills in the game. I'm all for merging genres of games together, and this one looks like an awesome combination. Solarpunk is a peaceful survival game in a technically advancing world of floating islands. You and your friends will be constructing buildings, growing food, crafting gadgets, and flying airships to explore distant islands and find new resources to bring back to your fully automated, resource-rich, and beautifully designed base. It's got a really unique energy system in the game that reminds me a lot of modded Minecraft, which helps to create this really interesting experience. And I can tell Orbital Potato it's an automation game and make him play it with me. Gem Miner TD is an incredibly expansive and deep tower defense game, where you're going to be mining gems and then using those gems to create and merge a huge chunk of towers to combat the enemies attacking your mine. The merging mechanics add an extra layer of gameplay as you're forced to think about the balance between making a solid tower defense maze and searching for the gems you need to get the towers you want. And that's one of the best parts of the game, exploring the many different towers you get from merging gems and experimenting with them. It's one of the best tower defense demos I've played recently, so I'm pretty confident that the release is going to be something special. At this point, we've already seen 25 games on this list, and there's 25 to go. If you're excited for the second half, a like on the video is much appreciated. Let me know in the comments which game from the first 25 you're most interested in, and we'll see if that changes in the second half. Snacktorio is a 2D platforming automation game from the developers of Apico and Mudbourne, inspired by modded Minecraft and Factorio. This game is all about creating automations and production lines to feed the beasts in the game. Yes, feed the beasts. There's a ton of interesting factory building mechanics, and as a huge fan of their previous games and of modded Minecraft, I think I'm going to dump a lot of time into this one. Gambonanza is a turn-based chess roguelike that mixes mechanics from the hit game chess with mechanics from Balatro. You're going to be mastering tactical twists, investing your winnings, and discovering new rule-bending gambits that allow you to break this new iteration of the game of chess we know and love. It's got all kinds of new ideas, like smaller boards, weird little pachinko slot machine and gachapon minigames, and an extremely dynamic system that lets you store chess pieces off the board, where you can then deploy them to catch your opponent off guard and get some sneaky, cheeky wins. It seems funky and a ton of fun. Islantiles is the next game from the developers of Keep Keepers, a played-uppy tower defense game that made my top 10 games of the year list in 2024. Islantiles is a board-gamey roguelike deck-building city builder, where you're placing buildings to gather resources and trigger satisfying card combos. There's over 100 kinds of crazy technologies in this game that twist the way the game plays on 100 different handcrafted islands. It looks like a much more strategic version of games like Dorfromantik and Islanders, while maintaining the cozy feel that those two games have. I'm pretty excited for this one. 17 Waves is a roguelike tower defense game designed for multiplayer. You're going to be strategizing with your teammates to build, upgrade, and maintain your towers while you defend your base from invading aliens. The mix of tactical tower defense with literally running around to pick up your loot and deposit it creates a really fun mix of gameplay, and being able to play with your friends, throw them materials, and all yell as you balance everything makes it a blast to play. Sternly Worded Adventures is the spiritual successor to Bookworm Adventures, a word-creating RPG from the early 2000s that is one of my favorite games of all time. Sternly Worded Adventures was legitimately inspired by my series on Bookworm Adventures, and it is everything I've wanted from a roguelike remake of that game. This game is doing so many funky things, from random minigames to chaotic items to unique classes and more. I simply cannot wait. Clown Meat is one of 2 games from the developer of Brutal Orchestra releasing this year. We'll talk about the second in a second. Clown Meat is a precision platformer with an emphasis on speedrunning and replayability. It reminds me a lot of Super Meat Boy, but with significantly more funky movement tech and a gorgeous Brutal Orchestra style art. There's a bunch of unlockable alternative playable characters, including Isaac. It just seems peculiar, and I can't wait. But Crawling Angels, also from Talia, the developer of Brutal Orchestra, seems even more peculiar and exceedingly weirder. Crawling Angels is a mystery horror physics-based puzzle game where you are smashing and thrashing the quote-unquote forever chicken. You'll be using a bunch of tools and equipment to interact with this ragdoll chicken to attempt to solve many riddles and charades in the game. It simply seems like the oddest game I've ever seen, and that kind of makes me want to play it even more. Big Walk is a game about a big walk. You're going on a big walk with your friends, hanging out with them and exploring the open world adventure. It's from the developers of Untitled Goose Game, which should probably tell you everything you need to know on this one. And listen, I seriously do not have much to add here. It's a walking sim. It has some random puzzles and challenges and discovering to do, but at its core, it's just freaking walking, dude. But it looks amazing, and I'm so ready for it. How Many Dudes is a game that asks and answers the age-old question: how many dudes does it take to beat a gorilla? Except you're going to be testing all kinds of scenarios. How many dudes does it take to beat 10 horse-sized ducks? How many dudes to beat a unicorn? How Many Dudes is an auto-battler roguelike with a chunk of interesting decisions and a bunch of classes to mess around with. It's got some interesting concepts and ideas that I've never seen before, so I'm pretty excited for the full release. Winnie's Hole was on my best upcoming games list last year, and then it got delayed to the beginning of 2026 here, but the next game from the Ring of Pain developers is shaping up to be a disturbing, yet fascinating tactical game all about infecting Winnie the Pooh with a virus. There's all kinds of perks, mutations, and virus strains to bodybuild Winnie in the world. Every sentence I say is just more disturbing than the last one, man. Just keep your eyes on this game, it's gonna be good. Everything is Crabbed is a Vampire Survivor style game about exploring a world, eating food, and evolving a little blob into a slew of animals with different traits and concepts. As you grow, you're going to be making decisions about how to spec your animal and balance all of the different stats in the game. There's little secret events to explore, unique bosses to fight, and tons of builds to experiment with. We finally had somebody evolve the Vampire Survivor style into something new and interesting, so I'm kind of excited for this one. Handmancers is a rock, paper, scissors roguelike, which on the surface that sounds like a trivial, simplistic, and even foolish game. But instead, here lies a unique little tactical deck builder with interesting decision making as you're struggling with how you want to respond to enemies' action. There's multiple different characters, there's a bunch of different cards, there's tricky artifacts that completely change the way you play. Eternity is quite literally at your fingertips. I can't wait to see how it goes. Cropdeck is a farming deck builder that captured my eye last year when I first played the demo. You're going to be crafting a powerful deck of both plants and abilities to then play onto your farming grid to optimize money so you can pay your taxes. But what makes this an interesting deck builder is the inclusion of Balatro-style jokers, scarecrows in their sense, that change the way you deck build and form your run. This game is melding a lot of very interesting mechanics together, and I can't wait for its release. Bibidi Bibidi is a wizarding roguelike deck builder, where instead of deck building cards, you're deck building the effects that are on the cards, and then you're crafting magical spells using those effects. You have 3 slots you use to build a spell. The first slot is the boon, or basically an additional effect that the card is doing. The second slot is the school, or the type of spell that you're casting, shield, damage. Then you have the third slot, which is the force, or the amount of that type of spell. So you can craft a damaging spell with 3 force that hits an additional target. But you're constantly trying different cards and abilities and drafting new mechanics. It's a brain twister, but it's quite interesting. Payroll is a new dice building roguelike where you're going to be building dice and then rotating them to kind of control your luck, discovering devastating combos and triggering outrageous chain reactions to pay your rent and escape the loan shark. I love the minimalist 3D style, I love quick 15-minute run roguelikes, and I'm a huge sucker for dice building roguelikes, so this seems simple, straightforward, and a ton of fun. Forage Wizard is an incremental clicker game where you're exploring the Forbidden Woods. You're going to be collecting resources, building machines, slaying monsters, farming crops, and automating your production as you progress through a massive branching skill tree. There's little secrets to uncover deep in the woods, it's a beautiful chill style, and it looks absurdly satisfying as a new entry to the incremental idle genre. Journey to the Void is a unique deck-building tactics roguelike where you're fending off attacks from all different directions in little bite-sized puzzly grid-based battles. With over 300 cards, items, and weapons to experiment with, you're going to be exploring a multitude of unique arenas across a chunk of different biomes. It looks like an interesting take on a tactics game, paired with deck-building mechanics, and a chunk of content to explore. I'm in. Vampire Crawlers is the next game from the Vampire Survivors developer, and it's basically a Vampire Survivors deck-building dungeon crawler. And as somebody that has been very open about not loving Vampire Survivors, this looks friggin' sick, dude. It keeps the dopamine, it keeps the meta progression, it keeps the chaos, but for some reason putting it in a first-person, big-numbered deck-building dungeon crawler kinda gets my blood pumping. I think this one looks really special. Look man, trains are cool, and a sci-fi train positioning, chain reactioning roguelike deck builder is also stupidly cool. In Fogpiercer, you're going to be tactically battling enemies that surround your train by using cards that you're collecting throughout your run. These enemies have all kinds of different weapons and traits, and you've got all kinds of different builds that you can use to defeat them. I love the art, I love the style, I just think this game has that it factor. I think it's going to be good. Nimbit Frontier is a genre mashup of creature collecting life simulator and roguelike action game. You're going to be exploring the shifting Underwild to uncover rare species of Nimbits and bring them back to your custom handmade habitats you'll be creating to nurture them and support their conservation. I'm a big fan of these do X in the morning, do Y at night games, and a Pokemon-style life sim paired with a roguelike action game is an amazing combo. Escape from Ever After is a genre-bending RPG inspired by the classic Paper Mario games. You'll be exploring storybook worlds packed to the brim with colorful characters, captivating locals, and electrifying secrets. You'll be customizing and managing your party, where every character has unique skills that can be equipped and upgraded throughout your journey. There's no denying this game looks just brilliant. Trivia Deal is the world's first trivia roguelike. You'll be answering questions as quickly and intelligently as you can, using lifelines, swapping cards, switching categories, and getting relics to survive the Rainbow Reaper of trivia. I love useless knowledge, I love trivia. I played the demo of this a long time ago and it rocked, and since then they've added far more questions and categories. Like seriously, just in the demo alone right now, there's over 2,000 questions in 12 different categories. If they continue to scale that up, this has the potential to be something really, really special. Smash It Wild is a tactical volleyball roguelike, and I absolutely adore tactical sports games. There's something about taking a fast-paced action like a sport and then whittling it down to a strategy tactical game. In Smash It Wild, you'll be taking charge of a team of animals with different abilities, each strategizing differently and offering a unique challenge in each match. You'll be making decisions that impact your team's tournament progress and taking on challenges with the hopes of leading your team to the ultimate victory. I love the Solarpunk style art, I love the theme, this one just looks so charming. Card Draw is a big number roguelike deck builder where you're constructing equations with your cards. The goal is simple: watch the numbers go very big in the limited number of turns you have to make those numbers go very big. It's got a bit of the game Roll, one of my favorite big number games of all time, but it also has a little bit of Balatro to it, as it has some jokery mechanics. There's a bunch of different game modes, a really sleek style, and I mean, come on, who doesn't like watching big numbers? And finally, the two games that I'm most excited for this year, starting with Mugenics. Yes, with an M. This is the next upcoming game from the developer of The Binding of Isaac, Edmund McMillan, and it's the ultimate turn-based tactical roguelike. You'll be bringing a squad of cats out on an adventure, changing and evolving them to be little game-breaking wizards. Then when you're done adventuring, you'll return the cats home, where you manage a little house that you can upgrade to breed more cats so you can do it all over again. It's got that Binding of Isaac flair while being incredibly expansive with over 1,000 unique abilities in it, over 900 different items, numerous different classes, and tons of fresh tactical puzzles. I actually did a podcast episode with Ed about Mugenics that you can check out linked in the description, and I'm going to dump 700 hours into this little silly game on February 10th, so I hope you're ready. Slay the Spire 2 is the sequel to Slay the Spire. And that's my list of upcoming... No, I'm just messing. Even though that is legitimately reason enough for my excitement, the sequel to the greatest deck-building roguelike of all time is almost here. With new characters, new cards, and brand new mechanics, I simply cannot wait to explore the Spire once more. There's already been so much teased in blog posts that has me itching to get my hands on this game, and I am confident it's going to be the greatest deck-building roguelike of all time. So that's my list of upcoming indie games of 2026. Which game are you most excited for? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.